Good morning, everyone. We are about to get started. It is 11:30. I hope everyone is having an amazing day. So today we are presenting on some of the top mistakes that we have seen companies make in government contracting. So I'm Susan Repka. I'm one of the co-founders of VG Victory, and I'm joined today by Julie Irvin, who is also, I'm sorry, Julie Irvin Hartman. Boy, I'm going back in history, who is also one of the co-founders of VG Victory. And we're excited to have you here on the call with us as we talk about these mistakes that we have seen. Now, this is not all the mistakes that we've ever seen, but we had to, make this concise as possible to fit in our times. So thank you again for being here. All right, so government contracting is all about opportunity. It's opportunity to really kind of provide a way for you to grow your business, to add to your client base, and expand and grow, take your company to the next level. So government contracting is amazing. You just have to get started and you have to know where to start. All right, so BDG Victory. So what do we do? Well, first off, I have been doing certifications and recertifications since 1998. Wow, that makes me feel very old, but okay. So helping you get those certifications, but more importantly, helping you determine which ones you qualify for and what is the best fit for your company. We do capture management. So we developed this whole system of taking all of the opportunities that you are submitting on and really helping you develop that strategy and execute a plan to get more and more successful at this. Because if you're not improving each time, you're missing that big opportunity. Right? And yes, we do help you write proposals. This is proposal season. We've been very busy helping clients submit proposals to various government entities. So we help you with the strategy, the win themes, building that library. We can do an audit of what you've already done. Registrations. Every single entity has a separate registration. People ask, why can't we just put all of our information in one place and it just be across the board? I'm like, that doesn't work that way. You have to be registered for that entity so they can even find you. And oftentimes you can't submit a proposal unless you're registered, or you can't get paid unless you're registered. Both are kind of important. Process improvement, looking at your systems and helping you improve upon those. Again, doing an audit of a proposal to see if we can enhance it, make it easier for an evaluator to read. Training and coaching. We're here today sort of as a group going through some of the, top 10 or top mistakes that you can make. But we also do one-on-one coaching. We take you where you're at and help you get to the next level. Each client has a different path. Maybe they're looking at going, 5 different entities from this one over here, or they're in a different level. So taking you from where you're at to the next step and helping you decide what that process looks like. It's a journey, right? All right. But one of our biggest accomplishments and the reason V2G Victory was actually formed is our Victory portal. This online database, because we wanted to help more companies be successful in the government contracting space. There's 2 of us, and while we do have a support team, there's only so much we can do, but finding that resource so companies can log on at 2 a.m. and get answers to questions that they have, sort of help them overcome some of the challenges at any time sort of resource for them. It gains you time. And we all know time is money. So it saves you money, avoids some of the headaches that come with this information. I had one person say, what do these acronyms mean? So I'm going to show you where you can go on that portal to say, what does this acronym mean? So that you can find that information quickly. This is Julie and I. This is our contact information. We would love for you to connect with us on LinkedIn, so that we can follow your company. We can know more about what you're doing. You can follow us and see what we've got going on, find out about all the different events that we're participating in, as well as we have a Friday answers to questions. So it's kind of a cool thing. You can follow us on that and get some answers, some additional answers to questions. All right. So let's get started. Here again are a few common mistakes in government contracting. Not defining your win. Now you're probably sitting there and going, no, a contract is definitely my win, but there are other levels of win. Being non-compliant and or non-responsive. Lack of focus, planning, and other considerations. Not scoring the opportunity. And unorganized content. Organization is a key in government contracting, whether it's getting certified or responding to a bid. So we're going to break these down a little bit. During the presentation, we want you to ask questions. So we're going to be submitting information in the chat. We'd love to hear about your company. So if you could put your name, your company, where you are in this process. Have you ever responded to a bid? Are you looking to get certified? What is your goal in the next 3 months? And also, what do you hope to learn from today?
So Cynthia asked us, is the Victory portal free? The Victory portal, there is a free level, and then there is, that is the pass level, and then the Victory Plus level is only $50 a month. So what is that, like three Starbucks a month for the B2G Victory portal?
So we did want to make sure that we made it affordable for the small business community, since that is, we are part of that small business community. We understand cash flow challenges, just everyone's having those, right? So drop your questions in the Q&A and we will get those answered as we move along. So go ahead and start taking some notes. This government contracting is a marathon. It's a long plan, strategic plan. And you have to be making steps toward that goal throughout. So what are you going to do next week? What information did you gather today that you're going to put on your action plan for next week? What are you going to do for the rest of Q2? Which we have 1 month left in Q2. What are you doing in Q3? And what are you doing in Q4? Now we are right at the point where government entities are spending whatever budget they have left and planning for next year's budget. So this is, again, an amazing time to kind of dip your toe into this, see what opportunities are out there. All right, so let's start with not defining the win. And again, I know the win is the contract, but there are other wins along the road. And we need to stop and pat ourselves on the back and say, we got this at any point along the journey. So first off, this may be your very first proposal. Like this, you know what? I'm just going to get one submitted. My win is learning the process, understanding what it takes to submit a bid, what information they're requesting, what is the time frame to get this done. But learning that process, that could very well be your win. And when you get that submitted, I had a client submit hers the other day, and she's just like, I did it. I submitted one. And I said, that is a win for you. And now, of course, now we wait and see, but she got that first step done. awareness, bringing your company information and putting it into that entity's hands for them to see what you can do. Now, be careful with this one to make sure that when you are submitting, if that's sort of your goal, let me just get this to them so they can see, make sure it's compliant and responsive so they know that you can follow directions and that you understand them. A foot in the door. So many years ago, Julie had a client that was trying to do business in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Well, this particular entity had points on their evaluation for, have you done business with this entity, or at least in the Dallas area. He had not. She's, doing her due diligence and doing the no-go, and she said, well, you're not going to score enough to actually win. So my recommendation is not to submit. So, nope, wanted to submit anyway. He ended up getting building a relationship with that procurement specialist. And he was able to get a informal opportunity, so a very small opportunity. But then for the next one, he now had that experience with that entity and that experience in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, so he could get those points. That's all he wanted. I want to raise awareness about my company and get my foot in the door. And so he did. A win is definitely making it to the short list, right? If you are able to do that presentation, if you get notification that you are one of the 3 finalists, that's definitely a win. Or maybe you're only wanting to build a relationship with a prime or additional subcontractors. So your win may be going to the pre-bid and getting that information and starting that relationship with that prime contractor. Or if you want a prime with some subcontractors you can put on your team, kind of flesh out your team so that you can do larger scopes of work. But of course, the contract. And I hope that with that contract comes a check, because they are often 2 different things. All right. So now that we've got a win, and part of our win is that we're going to raise awareness, or this is our first opportunity that we're submitting. So it's very important that as you are putting your proposal together, that you are compliant. Are you following the rules? So government entities are very transparent. You can find a lot of information, which is going to come very handy when you are being responsive. But let's look at the compliance piece of it when you're submitting that proposal. Your first step to make sure that you are compliant is read. Read the document. And you may read it multiple times. So there are tools that you can use for as AI, and it gives you a summary of the bid. That's helpful, but you still want to read front to back. And I'm a little old-fashioned. I actually print mine out because I like to take it to a quiet space, away from my computer, away from distractions, and mark it up with highlighters, right? Does this impact the client's pricing? Are they looking for a bond? Are they going to have to increase their insurance? Or are they going to have to buy equipment or add employees before they even get started? Because once the start date happens, it's at least 30 days before you get your first payment. How does that impact their pricing, as well as, do they have that line of credit? All of that highlighted in green. Questions, maybe questions that I need to ask that government entity to get a little bit more clarity on their RFP or RFQ. And then highlighting things that have to be done in yellow. And then that helps me build out that proposal matrix to see who's going to do what. You can put on some music. You can be quiet, whatever way that you can do this active reading. I also suggest flags, so you can highlight it in whatever color, put a flag on it, so it's quickly able to go through that. If you are non-compliant, that means you didn't follow the instructions. If you can't follow the instructions to win the contract, then they're not going to give you the contract because they're afraid you're not going to follow instructions on the contract. So there are some things that you can look for. Often there are page limits to your proposal or page limits to sections of your proposal. Turns it in late. Now, with the new electronic submissions, turning it in late is not an option, but there are some entities that still want it hard copy. If you are doing business with the city of Shreveport, they want 12 copies of your proposal and 12 thumb drives, and they must be delivered to the city of Shreveport by 10 a.m. So there are people who want hard copies. So and if it shows up at 10:01, it is not compliant, and you have now spent money to complete the proposal, spent money to ship it, and they're not even going to look at it. Filling out the forms incorrectly. So each time you're doing a proposal for an entity, even if you've submitted with them before, you're going to download the documents that are on that proposal and use those documents. You don't want to do forms that are outdated or do forms with the wrong RFP or RFQ number, because there have been some people who have just opened up the past one, changed the date on it, and said, hey, here it is. No, that's not the one that goes with this one. So make sure you are using current forms with that RFP, RFQ, or IFP. Another challenge that people can sometimes have is not following the format that is outlined in the proposal. If they call their tab A, assumptions underlying the proposals, then it's tab A, and that is on your tab, that is on that section. So make sure you are matching those headers and that information to what is in the proposal, and you are answering all of the questions in that particular section. And make it easy. You can either put the question or the question number, something that they can see this is your answer to that question. If they want that information on an attachment or an exhibit or a form, make sure you fill that information out. And forms are typed. Use your tools such as Adobe. Don't hand write forms. Nobody can read your writing. And one of the things we people all the time is just sign it in blue ink, just to be safe, so that they know it is that they can clearly see that signature. All right. Another challenge that people have is not making sure that they're capturing the latest information. Like I went and I downloaded all the information 2 weeks ago. Well, there's been 4 amendments since then, so that it changes. It could change the due date. It could change, or it could be an addendum that changes some information that they're requesting. So check for amendments every single day during this proposal process. There have been times when an entity will issue an amendment changing the due date the day it is due. Acknowledge those amendments. If they have an amendment, make sure that you are either signing that form if they have provided you a form, or acknowledging it in your cover letter that you have read that amendment and agree to it, because they don't want you to come back later and say, well, I didn't know that change existed. So now it is mandatory to sign the form, or again, if it's not, to at least acknowledge that you have read the RFP, RFQ, and all amendments. So again, amendment makes a change to the contract, an addendum makes an addition to that contract. As you can see, we still print ours, so we have our amendments in different colors. But just make sure that you are capturing the latest information and in the information that has changed. Because each one of these could cover a different topic. So you want to make sure you are reading and following all of them. All right, being responsive. Government entities are very transparent. There is lots of information available, usually on their website, or in other places, of what their focus is, what they are working on, maybe some future projects. Just even reading their annual report to talk about what their goals are, listening to board meetings to find out what they're discussing. Lots of ways to get information so that you understand that client and that client's needs. That way you are addressing their needs, not generic information. You clearly state in your response why is your company the best fit to handle that particular project. You provide a solution and you deliver a concise and creative proposal. This isn't throw everything in the kitchen sink in there, all your marketing material and everything you can possibly think of. That is why they often have page limits, because they want concise. And here's another tip, because we go along, I'm going to throw out some tips, is if in each section, that evaluator should be able to give you maximum points in the first couple of pages of that section, because that's what you want. And people don't read. So if they don't want to read a 50, 75 page document that is just a lot of words. So being creative, using graphics, using project photos, tables, things that will break up the text can often help. That evaluator will give you those maximum points and move on to the next section. Make the evaluator's life easy. So here's a sample of an org chart. Now, when they are asking for an org chart, in most cases, they are asking for the org chart of this particular project. Who are the people who are going to be working on my project? Not your company information, everybody that works at your company. These are people that have a part to play, whether they are internal or sub-consultants, subcontractors. They should all be listed on that org chart. Resumes. So most proposals are going to ask you for a resume. So this is not your, I want a job, a W-2 job at your company. This is all my past experience from the all the different companies I have worked at. In most cases, again, read the RFP, RFQ to make sure that's the case. In most cases, they want to know, what have you done that looks like my project? So this is Joe. Joe has a K through 12 resume. He has a school parking lot resume. He has a road. He has a TxDOT. He has all of these different resumes that we can use whatever that project scope is. So if they change, the sidebar stays the same, all of his education, etc., but the projects that are listed change out for the proposal. How do we go about asking for feedback on your submission? So You can request a tabulation. So that will show you where you scored on the various sections of the proposal. And you can also ask for a debrief. You'd send that to the buyer. And that buyer may come back and say, you're going to need to submit a request for information through our legal department. You can also ask for the top 3 proposals. So there are things, but wait till it's completely through the cycle. It has been awarded before you start asking, because they can't provide you that information until they have actually signed a contract with someone.
We're going to be adding to the portal in July a post-proposal checklist. So thank you so much. Your question and timing is perfect.
So they're going to also, during in that proposal, they may ask you for what your quality assurance, quality control process is. What is your workflow? Basically, they're looking for how are you going to get my project completed. So outlining your process can help that evaluator know that you have the capability and processes in place to manage this project from the start to the end. There are a lot of different pieces to every single project. So here's a couple of samples of those, as well as this is my favorite methodology, where we've outlined the different phases and they color-coded each one. Talk about your communication, because as they go through a project, this may be a 5-year contract. They want to know that process of how they're going to keep to understand where they are in that timeline and what's being done, and how are you going to make sure that everything is done the way that up to their standards. All right, so here's some things that you can just sort of quick showcase when you're talking about your team. Just keep in mind, it is your internal team as well as your subcontractors or subconsultants. So here is JPI, and there are 7 subconsultants that make up this. And so on that section of experience, this is a way to showcase, hey, we have experience working with you. This was a tech stop submission. This was done during COVID, so it was important to know who's on the bench, right? This is something that, are we going to have here is our org chart of who's going to be working on this project. This is who we have on the bench. If we need to, we can pull in additional people. Now, the next one is lack of focus and planning and other considerations. So I sent an opportunity to a person that I met at one of my lift find classes. And she's like, she had experience responding to bids. She's like, I've got this. I'm like, okay, well, here it is. Wanted to get this in your hands. So about 2 weeks after it was due, I emailed her and said, hey, did you get that submitted? And she said, no, I ran out of time. There's a difference of having experience doing it for another company than for doing it for yourself. So she literally did not plan ahead of what this government entity was going to need from her, and she was unable to get it. And I felt very bad because it was a perfect opportunity. So plan ahead. So do a go, no go. And one of the things you're going to look at is, do you have time in your schedule to not only submit the bid, but to do the work after you've won the bid? What is your current workload? Because you don't want to drop the current clients when you bring on a new client. So what is your current schedule all around from start to finish? Or do you have the time and the resources to get this done? So are you going to have to bring on more staff if you win the contract? That's going to cost you more money. So Look at all of that and decide before you even start whether this is doable when you win it. So always be positive. I am going to win it, right? But make sure that you have the resources, because the last thing you want is to get to the final stages and realize that you can't handle the contract because you don't have the resources. So I actually had a security company call me and said, Susan, this is the perfect bid for me. And I said, okay, let me do a quick run through it and then we'll jump on a call. So I was reading through it and I get her on the phone and I said, do you realize that you're going to be out about $300,000 before you even start the contract? So once you sign it, you're going to have to buy 5 trucks that are, 5 years old or newer. You're going to have all your security guards are going to have brand new uniforms, and those uniforms you have to provide them. They can't pitch in, which is it's kind of standard for that industry. Plus, you have to have 3 or 4 golf carts. There was all of this stuff. Then it's going to be 30 days for you to get your first check. And she said, "Well, I can't do that." So make sure that you are doing your due diligence before you submit, because this could cause you some issues. All right, there are different roles in the process for submitting a bid. So dissector, that's going to review that proposal and highlight all of that information and complete, the proposal matrix, lay that out. Who's going to be doing what? And they're going to help organize all this information. The gatherer is going to go through past proposals and through what information do we already have that fits. Look, maybe they're going to start writing, create some original content. The doers, the section assignments, photos, pricing. Now, I understand that in most cases, those first 3 roles are going to be done by you. You're going to be dissecting, gathering, and doing. The one thing that I suggest you do bring in another person if you are doing all of those roles, and that is the proofer. I do not proof my own writing well. There are tools that I use. I do a grammar check, I do a spell check, I do all of that, but does it make sense? And so having someone else read it, I sent one over to one of our team members last night. And I said, can you read this? Just to make sure that it makes sense. Because I'm typing away, right? And so, I did a spell check, but just because it's spelled right doesn't mean it's the right word, right? So having someone else read it is going to help you be responsive, because if it doesn't make sense, it's not responsive, right? All right, so look at the schedule of the actual bid. Make sure that you are putting these key events on your calendar. I don't know about y'all, if I don't have it on my calendar, it does not happen. I missed a board meeting of a nonprofit I served on because it wasn't on my calendar. So outline your calendar. So this is time blocking. This is a method that we use to make sure that we're keeping all the balls in the air, because we may be working on multiple proposals. And sometimes it's multiple proposals for the same client. So you're kind of getting all of it. So block time to do the forms, block time to figure out what subcontractors, subconsultants you're going to use. How are you going to contact them? Looking at what projects, what people and what projects are going to go in here. So outlining what you're going to do throughout the process will keep you on track. Or if somebody has access to your calendar and can schedule meetings, then that time is blocked. They can't do that. And you'll see across the top of this calendar on every day, it's check for amendments, even after it's 2 days past the due date, because I've seen them, like the due date is a moving target sometimes. And so it got extended. So I went ahead and put it on my calendar. or 2 days past. Part of the go, no-go process is scoring. If the government entity is providing you a evaluation criteria, then you need to be using that to determine whether this is a go or a no-go. Now, it's just part of the process. You can do it at the beginning, you can do it at the end. Even if you've done this and it's a go, you might want to do it about halfway through, or maybe after the pre-proposal conference, or just when you have or when the Q&A has been answered, so that you are making sure that you are current with your scoring. All right, so here is an evaluation criteria. So this is, the purchase price is very dominant on this one, 30%. The reputation of the vendor, quality of their goods and services. So it lays out what points, or what percentage of 100, so what points you're going to get for each of the evaluation parts. So then you just take it and you score. Score yourself, and if you know the incumbent, or you have a feeling you know who's going to play in the sandbox, evaluate them. Determine where you fit. If you're making in the 80s, is this one a good fit? Do you want, is there a different win that you want out of this one? Or if you're scoring way below the competitor, is that a good fit? Do you need to make some adjustments in your pricing? Sharpen your pencil, be competitive, but please make sure you are making enough profit on that contract. The last thing you want to do is win a contract and start losing money. All right, unorganized content. Organization, organization, organization. So we do have a tool that we use for all of our clients. It is called a tree book, that we keep all of their information so that we can literally cut and paste it into forms. Like, I don't have to type in their company name. It's makes it a whole lot faster. We use this, every single one of our clients has one in their folder, and we use this throughout. It tracks their company overview, their team, some high numbers that we want to talk about, how many years they've been in business, etc. Their references, the certification. It is available on the portal for purchase, but we developed this tool for one of our very first clients and have used it for every client since, to make our life, makes our life easier, and the client has access to, so it makes their life easier. All right, so now you're working on a proposal. So you have your proposal library, you've got your victory book, you've got all of this information arranged. Now you're doing the actual proposal. So there is a RFP, RFQ folder. That folder holds all of the documentation that was downloaded with that bid in its original form. So as you're doing forms, those are going to be put into the working file once they have been completed and signed. So the RFP, RFQ is just the original documentation. Break it up into sections in the working document, or you can just have different versions. Working document version 1, working document version 2, always have that version number so you know which one's the most recent. And then you want a folder for the final. And that's going to help you as you go through to the next, do the next bid. What was our final version on this? So I can go see what we submitted for this one that I can reuse on the next one. So the last thing you want to do is get it submitted and go, well, now we know what not to do. So being organized, being responsive, being compliant, all of that will make you more successful in this space. All right, any other questions? And then I'm going to pull back the curtain and let's look at the portal for a few minutes, and then we're going to have some open Q&A. All right. So as a reminder, our portal was designed with small businesses in mind that are either entering into the government contracting on their government contracting journey or at any point along the way. So this is to help you be more successful. Julie and I are always around to answer questions, but at 2 a.m. in the morning. I do not answer questions at 2 a.m. in the morning. So this is an easy way for you to get some answers. It's going to gain you some time and save you some money and avoid some headaches. And this is put together. Julie has over 25 years of proposal writing.
Yes,
She
25
started
years
very,
as a
very
certified
young.
proposal manager.
She started very, very young. So all of this experience, I've been doing proposals since about 2018. I was in supplier diversity before that. So this comes together with all of our knowledge, plus all of the information that we have gathered from buyers, from small businesses, etc. What do we need to make us successful? So everyone here should be a member of the portal. So when you log in, if you are new to this space, how to get started with government contracting. How do you find information? It's right there on the sidebar, easy to find. We're updating it about every 2 months. We're going to do update information so that it has current information. We're always checking what we have up there to make sure that it is current because, things change. New laws, new changes and everything. So we're trying to keep the most updated information on the portal. So you're going to see as you go through, once you're a member, you'll get notification of any updates that we make. So maybe you've got like I said, an acronym. I was talking to a young lady today who was trying to finish some certification, just using the last stages. And she's just like, she did this. All of these acronyms, I don't know what they mean. And I'm like, well, go to the portal, type in whatever you're looking for, and it's going to come up with what is that. I have thrown out RFP, RFQ, and IFB several times today. If you don't know what that is, go to the portal and put it in the glossary. I've also talked about a compliance matrix, your proposal matrix of how you're going to get things done. All of that information is quickly available online. It gives you that definition. Or maybe you want to watch some videos. There's over 100 videos that Julie and I have done since 2018, talking about, how to do business with HISD, how to do business with Metro, how to do presentations. What is the difference between a feature and a benefit when you're doing your proposal and you're trying to provide some relevant information. So those videos, sometimes they're full length like today's, and sometimes they're snippets of just what is that particular topic. But maybe you want to read. So we do have blogs that cover a lot of that same information. Two meetings that really matter for you to attend. Scheduling for success. We went over some of that today, right? So there's an entire blog on the process that we use that we've refined throughout our government contracting journey. Compliant proposals, types of different contract opportunities, all that RFP, RFQ, IFB acronyms that we pull around, it actually gives you definitions and what information is needed in each one. Or you just have questions. What should I bring to a pre-meeting? How can I create my bid response in PowerPoint? Can I do that? So just type in your question. If the answer is not there, let us know. We'll make sure that we get that answer for you. And then we also will put it in the frequently asked questions. Most of this information has come from sessions that we have done, questions that we get during the proposal process. So, because if one person asks it, somebody else also has that question that they're going to need the answer for. But we tell people all the time, you want to be successful in government contract, suit up and show up. Develop a relationship. Someone asked me, where do I even go? So one of the things that we did with our portal is we created our calendar of events. We have the ones that B2G is part of, but we also have metros, Port Houston. We gather information about different events and networking opportunities across Texas and get them on this calendar so that you have one place to go and see, because you have to plan strategically if you're out at every networking event, right? It may not be the best thing for your company, but you also want to make sure you're in the right places at the right time. Who's going to be there? That's what's important. Who's going to be there that I want to meet? Oh,
Rosemary had a
ask
question.
a question.
Do you help with making sure your prices are competitive for your bid? Yes, we do. We make sure that your price is competitive, that you're going to be able to make a profit on it. And if we have time, research the bids that your competition has won, so you're able to have some competitive intel in that space and also know who else is playing it in your sandbox. So absolutely, we can help you with that. Great questions, everyone. Thank you so much.
All right, so now I have a question for everyone. As we are finishing up the month of May and then moving into June, what are some things that you are going to do next week on your government contracting journey to make sure you are continuing to make steps? Dr. Loretta, she's going to be attending some events. I had an opportunity to meet with her virtually and gave her some events that I wanted her to attend at. She stopped by and let me know she was there.
Right. So these could be things that maybe it's next week or a bit longer, Q3 or Q4 of this year. And remember, a lot of government agencies, their new fiscal budgets start in Q3 of 2025. So really, I mean, there's never a bad time to get started in government contracting, but, take the information that, Susan has shared with you. If you're not already a member of the portal, go ahead and join, check it out. You can book a 15-minute consultation with us. So it doesn't have to be a huge thing, right? It could be just a small win, right? Remember, Susan was talking about the wins. I've got quite a few.
This one. Yeah, I love this one of narrowing down the agencies I want to work with. It can be overwhelming when people come to me and say, I want to do business with I want to do government contracting. Government, federal, state, local, education, where are you going here? So our recommendation to people is start with 5. Pick 5. Do your research on those 5. Are they buying your service or product that you have? When was the last time that contract was issued? Do all of that research on those 5, then move to the next 5. Some of them will drop off and you'll add additional ones to it, but you can get so overwhelmed with all of the opportunities that you become very unfocused. So focus on 5 and know them well.
And then you're able, when you focus on those 5, like Susan said, you're able to really measure your results. You're able to learn from that, and you're able to get traction versus, a shotgun approach. And you're so scattered that you're not sure what's working, what's not. When you pick 5 and have a strategic approach, like a laser beam, you'll definitely make some traction. Thank you, Ja, for that.
Someone that that's amazing, and she comes into contact with so many government agencies. It's like, that's a lot. I saw someone was getting their veteran-owned certification. That is a process that, if you would like some insight, I am in the process of doing that for a client. It is, the SBA is running that now. So there are some things that you need to know before you start it. Then somebody else is getting applications done for certification. Certification, you do not have to be certified to do business with any government entity. However, certification can help open some doors. Help us open some doors with that government entity, because there is a person at that agency that will, it is their job, a hub coordinator, a small business liaison, or whatever they're called, to help you. But also for subcontracting opportunities, being certified can help you get those subcontracting opportunities. I would love if y'all would go to our YouTube channel and hit the subscribe button, and that way, as we're posting new videos on that, you will get that information as well. And here are some upcoming sessions that B2G will be doing. So I see Julie asked if anyone was state of Texas certified. We do have our state of Texas certification. I hope that if you're in Texas, that you take advantage of that if you are eligible. If you are unsure if you're eligible, then schedule some. I do 5 pre-certification reviews a month for clients. Once I hit the 5th one in the queue, I wait till the next month. So I am beginning June's. So if you are interested in a pre-certification qualification, I review your legal documents, because I was the person who decided if a company was certifiable. Review your legal documents and some additional documents, and then give you a report of what you are eligible for. All right, so we do
Congratulations,
have
Brandon and
some.
Steve.
Yes, I love it. We want to hear from you. We want your questions. Feel free to reach out to Julie and I. We'll be happy to schedule that 15-minute call with you and really kind of get an idea of what it is that you need. All right, the Fulcrum group is in the DIR. That's very impressive. All right. We're going to call it a day. Thank you so much for spending your time with us. I know at the end of the month is kind of crazy as you're trying to close out everything. So we appreciate the fact that you showed up today. And I hope that what we provided was beneficial for you.
Thank you, everyone, and have a great weekend. We look forward to seeing you online or virtually soon. Online, in person, on the phone, old school it, either way, however way. Yeah.
Or at the next networking event, right? We'll do it in person. All right, everyone have a great day.